Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am Phil, I am the Down Under Maker, and I screw up with my audio all the time. Thanks, Nick. Let's just go over what I was just saying again. Mrs. Maker has hurt herself quite badly. She took a tumble down the stairs. She's badly broken one ankle and dislocated the other. So she's not in a very particularly good way. She's got some really good painkillers, so she's not in any discomfort, but she does need me to get around the house a little bit. She's set up in the home theater. She's in a recliner. She's got chocky bars. She's got a big TV. She's got a big bottle of Coca-Cola with her. So hopefully she won't need me, but if she does need me, screw you guys, I'm gonna go help her. Probably will only be for a couple of minutes, in which case I'll come back to the stream. If it's not, well, you guys just have to suck it up. I'm sorry. What's been going on here before that? I've been working a little bit behind the scenes on my Rapid Burner. I realized I'd actually printed some of the parts with the wrong settings, and this part, which is the part that supports the hot end, I printed at 15% infill and 2 walls. As a result, it was getting crushed when I tightened up the screws, and so we need to dismantle that, put that new part in. We've then got to fit the spreader bar and reassemble the whole damn thing. Not the end of the world. It's one of those things where we've been working on. I should probably go back to this one for a second. It's not necessarily the end of the world. It's just a case of going over a few steps, putting some new heat set inserts in, and we will make some more progress. But something I didn't get to last week was thanking Brad and Jex, who are regulars on the stream. They bought some merchandise from my Fourth Wall store. Go visit it. The links are in the description and the channel description. And I was able to pick up a Phaetus hardened nozzle for the Prusa. There we go. Which means that I can now print all the exotics in there. They come in these really nice tubes as well. Focus. There we go. So yeah, it's quite a nice. And then, because I'd purchased this, there was a random pop-up on my AliExpress yesterday morning or the morning before, whenever it was, offering me another one, but for $3 US. So I said, hell yeah, because that was about 18, 19 US dollars. So picking another one up for $3, I decided this is the 0.4, so I got a 0.6. Before last stream, it was also Father's Day here in Australia, and I just wanted to show off the cool things that my kids got me. They got me a little pen, which looks like a wrench, doesn't twist. I may have to do some modifications to make it twist. I think that would be cool, but it is magnetic. So, although the magnet's not very good, so I might have to replace the magnet. And speaking of magnetic, let's go to this. And those of you who are paying close attention on the previous view, I got an OmniFixo. So, for those who don't know what an OmniFixo is, it's basically a little soldering station to make life simple. It's these little magnetic-y bases. And snap, and snap, and there you go. Now, things that a lot of people don't know. You can actually use the base and this spot here for electrical testing. So you can connect your multimeter to here, and then it's conductive all the way through to this one. And then if you connect that to your ground rail, then you can do your electrical conductivity, resistive testing, etc. So would have been really handy to have this the other day when we were doing some soldering, but we may use it to hold things in place while I do other things today, like I might have to do some crimping, I think. So let's clip that in there, put that in there, put that all back together. And just for now, I'm going to try and be a good kid, and I'm going to try and keep it in its box. Won't last long. I always end up getting tired of the box and throwing it away. But we shall try. So let's put that out of the way. So, where were we at properly with the build? We were in a situation where we were starting to do some wiring with the printer. I did some thinking while I had nothing better to do in the hospital the other day, and I came up with a way to do all the wiring in a reasonably neat fashion. I think I showed you this. Let me just adjust this camera. Camera 1, go down a little bit. Oh yeah, no, not that low, not that low. Up a bit, up a bit, up a bit. This is the heavy gauge. I think it's this is 20 gauge wire. The heavier gauge of what is normally used for neopixels, and I'm going to use this for powering from the 5-volt power supply in the printer through to the Raspberry Pi. I'm also going to use this to power the relay that is going to be able to turn the 24-volt power supply on and off. What I did was I did some thinking about how to best achieve this. I've already fitted off screen, because it was a lot too much hassle to try and do this on screen, a JST 4-pin socket to the relay that's already in there. And I've also taken the insulation off the negative and the positive lines, stripped it back and crimped on 2 bootlace crimps. These will go into the positive and negative on the power supply. And then this end, which we will still need to crimp suitably for the other end, will go through to the Raspberry Pi that's currently bolted to the back of the printer. So I think doing it this way is going to keep all the wiring nice and simple and neat, and as little clutter as we reasonably can manage. So what should we do first? I think that maybe we should run that wire, because that will get it out of my way, and we will move forward. The other thing I did try off screen was, will that load? No, that's not what I was after. No, side cam. That one. I did tinker with doing just a two-core power wire from the power supply to the Raspberry Pi and then one to the relay. And it wasn't achieving what I wanted to do. And I remembered that I really wanted to be able to control the relay with the same wires without having to make up a harness. So this was the best way around it. So I need to actually pull this wire out of the printer as we're doing the job too. But I'll leave it here for now, so we've got something to remind me what we're doing. So let's see if we can get this a little closer so you can see what's going on inside the printer. Just feed some cable. So just a reminder, here's our relay. And that blue socket there is the 4-pin JST that I've attached. The relay is set up in a normally closed setup. So what that means is, unless it gets a signal, it will allow power to the 24-volt power supply. This means if anything fails, the 24-volt power supply will still get power. 5-volt power supply is wired into the mains inputs, and that's on a permanently connected via a switch, so I can completely shut down the machine via the switch, which is on the front here underneath. And we also, last week, we installed the U2C to make life simple for the CAN bus toolhead. The reason it's in here, I wanted it nice and close to the 24-volt power, and running a USB cable into here was a relatively simple process, so it makes sense to keep all of that protected and as close to the power supply as was reasonably possible. Now, we do have room if we get time and we find it's necessary to shorten this cable that goes into the U2C's power, but at this point, I think we'll leave it as it is. So let's get that power cable installed and we will move forward from there. Now, try not to drop you guys on your heads and give you as good of a view as possible. There. Now, let's just double check this. Mains power is disconnected. It was already switched off at the power supply. It does have a discharge resistor across there. So I'm just going to do the safety thing with insulated pliers, Phil, not... Yep, mains is definitely out. So this side is positive, then the next one in is negative. I still don't yet have the earth cable, but in principle, we could run it without that just temporarily. And I just realized I need my screwdriver, which is there. Now, I always find it's actually easiest to work from the inside out with these terminals. So I'm going to connect the negative first, double checking, yes, negative first, into the last but one slot. Now, the great thing about having used bootlace crimps is that the tighter I make the terminal, the better it crimps down on the wires, so the better the whole connection is on those wires. It was also brought to my attention. Oh, Nick, thank you for purchasing from Fourth Wall. I just got a notification. Thank you very much, man. Now, if you guys ever want anything custom on Fourth Wall, it's really, really easy for me to do something custom up for you guys. Some of you who watch Jeremy and Keela's streams will know that I had them done up. Keela's got a custom Down Under Maker hoodie with her name on it, and Jeremy got a t-shirt with his name on. So if you guys ever want anything custom done, that's really easy for me to do. Just let me know and I will arrange that for you guys with a special private link for you to order it. So I've just plugged in the GST, which is the control for the relay. I'm now feeding those wires around the back there, away from the mains wiring, and through the already pre-done hole from Creality in the chassis of the power supply section. And I still need to work out a solution for getting all these cables neatly from here to here. But I'm pretty sure I can print something that's going to look okay and be a good solution for that. Let's pull that wiring through. You're tempted to order a pillow for Jeremy. Hi, Martin. How are you? Just reading through all this. On their site, they have it wired up to power some LEDs, though. Oh, through the clips. Yes, you can also do that. Yeah. I'm just looking in through the side window to see what's going on with the slack on the wires to make sure that I've got plenty to cable manage and tidy up. Now, I did cut this a lot too long. Let's get rid of the HDMI cable. We don't need that for the moment. And this needs to come up to the Raspberry Pi. I think we'll probably route it that side. So let's tuck it through here. And in behind here. Now, along the side here, I've got some loops for mounting the tie straps to. That's all. There, that's what I wanted. Now, I'm just trying to work out what's best. I think going over the top of the high current wires is going to be the better way to do it. So just off the bottom here is the bed power and the input power for the SKR Pico. So I think that is going to be the best way to deal with this. Now, let's see if I can tailor this view a little bit better for you guys. And I did tweak some settings, so you shouldn't lose so much video fidelity when I zoom. There we go. Now we can see what's going on a lot better. You're doing good. The missus at work and you had the night off, so you get to catch the stream. Nice, Martin. My missus is currently in the home theatre with her feet up. I don't know if you heard, but she broke one ankle and dislocated the other on the weekend. So we've had lots and lots of fun here. Let us go to that one. Oh, it's Beardy's pumpkin that I'm going to print off later on. That one. That's the one I want. Let's play Will It Load? Spark fun. There we go. So what I'm doing here before I screw anything up is I'm just confirming the pinout, and I don't mind tying up a UART. I'm never going to use the UART on the board. So I think I'm going to use a 5-pin for this. Get my JST crimps out. JST 5-pin. Now, let me explain my thoughts here. 5-volt power. 5-volt power, ground. I'm planning to just use the one 5-volt power. I know what I'm doing with this. I've used nice fat cables and I've tweaked the power supply voltage to 5.1 volts. So that should be plenty. You just ordered parts to beta test Mr. Excuses subwoofer. Oh, nice. So I'm planning to use one of the power inputs and the ground, and then the relay unit I've got actually has 2 relays on it. So the plan is to eventually, if I need it, I have access to just simply plug in an extra wire. So I'm going to use GPIO 14, this one, for the relay control. And then that will leave me with GPIO 15 for the second relay if I ever need it. Now, that means I need to get that to about here with a bit of slack. Let's allow it to be there. I'll pick that up in a minute. What we're going to need is my JST crimper, which is there. And we're going to need my wire strippers, which are here. And let's go to, sorry, I should have showed you that better, shouldn't I? Hands plus me, there we go. So I'm going to run the wires up here. I'm going to use pins 2, 6, and 8 for what we're doing here on the Raspberry Pi GPIOs, and that gives me that spare. So let's clip these apart. Let's go to that one, and I'll try and do my best to keep it in shot for you guys. So what I've just done is I've just separated those strands a little bit to make it easier to get in with the strippers. About 3 mil off the end of each of these insulations. That's right. This was that cheap wire that's a little bit split. For some reason, the white on this doesn't stay attached very well. So what I might do before I start crimping, I'm just going to put some clear heat shrink over these, so it'll help keep the 3 wires together. So there's a little bit of insulation not stripped. I realize this is going to be way too small for you guys to see, so I'll just have to tell you. There's just a little tiny bit of the insulation is just, there we go, getting in the way. Yes, this will be what's, the extra wire will be what's switching the 24-volt power on and off. I used to do it this way when I had the printer set up with Octoprint many, many years ago, but I never bothered to transfer all that stuff over when I had to fix something and move to Clipper. Now, out of force of habit, these crimpers have two sets of crimps. This one's a wider one than that one. This is good for the small gauge wires. This is better for big gauge wires. It's not for different sizes of crimps, it's for different sizes of insulation. And threading that through the heat shrink has, sorry, just made it go all wispy. That one was good. Come on, focus. For anybody who's looking for a really good video, a tutorial on how to do crimping, bigclive.com on YouTube. He's a Scots guy with a big, huge, bushy beard. He's got a background in something really technical, but now he's basically a roadie, and he goes around and does all the lighting rigs for big concerts and stadium events. And he does teardowns of electrical gear, critiques it, explains how the electronics work, and he has a really good video on how to do crimping. He also solders like Steve builds with the crazy using 2 hands as 3 hands technique that I still can't manage. 3 for 3. Okay, so let's double check this. I could use just pins 4, 6, and 8 and save confusion. Let me explain to you my logic. Let's go back to the browser. The reason I'm using a 5-pin, I'm going to need the reach of 5 pins. I don't want to make a mistake and accidentally connect 5-volt power directly to a GPIO or ground directly to a GPIO and burn something out. So if I use a 5-pin, it means I can plug it in at this pin 2 and then still have available 2 GPIOs and the ground all in one 5-pin connector. So I think I am going to go for the 2, 6, and 8 method. And because of the way I'm doing things, I still have the risk of plugging it on inverted backwards. But even if I do, it shouldn't be able to blow anything up if I do it this way. So ground is white, which is the center pin on my plug. Let's go back to that one. So ground is white, and that is going into the center pin and latched. Now, let's do it that way. Yeah, let's do it that way. Green is the signal in our case, and red, that didn't latch. I did now. And red is miss one and connect. So let's double check this. Let's go back to Chrome. And let's see if I can do something. 1 minute. That's me. That's the overhead. So don't want me in this one. Actually, let's put me on anyway. Add a camera, video capture device. Add existing, the other tiny two. There we go. And what we're going to do is pray it doesn't crash the stream. I'm going to shrink it in. I'm going to put that there so you guys can see what's going on as well. Nick. There's no magic smoke on my streams if I can avoid it. So basically, let's go back to slide cam. Red power goes to the very back end of the board. Ground goes on the 3rd pin, and that GPIO is there. So that connects. Woohoo! Now, what we know from last week is that the power supplies power up because we tested it. We had that mucking around while I tested for continuity and eventually fixed that. So let's just scan around in here. The only thing left to do for safety in here is to connect the earth, which I don't directly need to do at this point because it's all going to be closed up in a moment. I'm going to strip out that pair of black wires that I ran that I don't actually need. I'm going to put the cover over the top to keep my hands away from things. Plug in the 240 volt power here. Am I plugging this the right way around? Yes, I am. And I have my extension cord. There's not much to see on this view, so let's turn it back around again. And will we get lights on the Raspberry Pi? That is the main question for this. So, socket is turned on. I can see a blue light. I can see a green light. And we have Raspberry Pi lights. I'm not sure if you guys can see it. Oh, yes, you can, just here. We have lights and no smoke. Hi, projects. We all thought we could hide from you. Now, for those of you who don't know, Projects is currently doing a lot of plastic pew-pew builds. I'm not even going to mention words after what happened to Jeremy and Keela. But he's doing them on his Discord. So if you're not a member of Project's Discord, then please go join so you can catch his plastic pew-pew builds. If you want to post a link to your Discord, go for it. Projects, you've got access to be able to do that. And that looks like it's successfully booting up. Now, I don't remember if this has got the SD card in it for the Ender 5 that I was using before or not. So I'm just going to jump into, let's go back to that one. And go to ender5.local and see what happens. Okay, it must be on a different IP address. It did give the impression that it was connecting to Wi-Fi. So when I do my SD cards, I always set them up so that they should be able to directly connect to Wi-Fi. What am I looking for? I'm looking for my Unify. Let's go to... I love the console. It shows you all the data flow. Let's go to connected agents. That's the Voron. How long's that been connected for? This is called Pi3 mainsail, which is not what I... So it must be a different SD card. What IP address do we have? .189. And this appears to be us. Let's go to that one. Yes. Now, for some reason, I don't have YouTube chat on this scene. It's because it's been turned off, Phil. There we go. That's better. Let's move this down here because it should be the least in the way here, I think. And let's go into machine. So we've got basic main cell config and it's completely blank other than that. So grabbing my other Raspberry Pi that's sitting here on my bench because it's the only other Pi 3 I've got, so it must be this one that I need. And let's shut it down. I was thinking about copying the config across, but then I realized I've got to plug it into a Linux machine to do that. So that's too much like hassle. I can get my fat fingers to get that back into the slot. Okay. Power it up. So this one now, when it boots up, will be Ender 5. Hopefully. Unless I've got all my SD cards all mixed up. Now, what else have I been up to? It's almost my daughter's birthday. So I've been printing out berry ones. I found it on printables. I also had an ancient roll of wood filament sitting in my boxes of random filament. So I decided to use wood PLA for the handle. It actually looks really nice. What I did was I used a concentric infill to force the grain to always be up and down the shaft, and that means that it actually looks pretty much like it's actually wood, apart from the fact it's super glossy on one side. I did use the FX plate on the Prusa that I bought just to try it out. It doesn't really work well with the wood because of the texture of the filament. But yeah. Ryder wanted blue, so he got blue. Then there's these dual color bronzy gray stars. And fresh off the printer, too hard. These translucent sparkle purple, which have a kind of a blue depending on how translucent they go. So these were just found on printables. I was just like how can I get this done super easy without any hassles? And found them on printables. And the guy who did the shaft is different to the guy who did the stars themselves. And he did a really good job at doing the tolerances for the interference fits. So yeah, some sparkly fairy ones for her to give to her little friends at her birthday party. And I need to do one more shaft because I accidentally broke one. Oh, I'm not sure if I showed you guys this. There we go. You can see it on the sparkly effects plate that I picked up. It was about $12 on AliExpress on a special. It looks like the Pet-G you just ordered. Why are you ordering the devil's filament, man? Pet-G is good for a few things, but yeah, it definitely wasn't right for this. It would have been a bit too floppy for the handles and too much given the stars. Because they're flexy, for lack of a better way of describing it. If it was Pet-G, there'd be too much give in the vertical direction. It would mean that they'd all fall out. So that's why I did PLA. For those who are interested, it was no-name Australian brand dual color for the bronzy ones, and its Protopasta is the purple. Don't even know how I got Protopasta. It's not easily available here, but it must have turned up with something. Yeah, I think from now on, for all of my printers, I'm just going to order the bamboo sizes, whether they fit or not. And the worst that happens is I take them to school and I chop the edge off on a guillotine. Especially once the H2 beds become more readily available. Having a 350 bed is going to be so much cheaper. So that's going to be a win for all of us. So we have that running. Let's try ender5.local and see if that will pop up. Let's go here. No. Please don't tell me I've lost all that config. That would suck. Oh, you just got your DM, Nick. Thank you. Trouble is when I'm streaming, Discord automatically mutes everything. Oh no, it's not a message from Mrs. Maker, so we're happy there. Unify. I'm pretty sure I don't have any more Raspberry Pis floating around. So it has to be that one. I'm struggling to find it on the Wi-Fi. Wi-Fi on that connection. The way the app works, for those who don't know, let's go. You can actually refine it by which access point it's connected to. So I've just picked the access point that's the local one, and yeah, it's not showing up. It can't be on the 5 gig because it's not a Pi4. Was this the one I was having trouble with the nose? I have a sneaking suspicion that this is the one I was having difficulties with, and it wasn't connecting to Wi-Fi for some reason. So let's see if we can. Yeah, I think this was the one that wasn't connecting, so I was connecting it via LAN cable. And that's why I was going to swap over to the... Sorry guys, I'm just going through my thought process of what's going on and why. It must be a config issue, not a hardware issue, because the last one connected to Wi-Fi. So let's shut it off. Three, two, one. Let's pull the SD card out. Let's plug it into the carrier. And then plug it into the computer here. And let's see if I can do this. So what I'm doing, guys, hi Killer, hi Shrimp, I already said hi to Martin. So Killer, we're just working out how we're going to get this SD card connected. So the Raspberry Pi hardware connects to my Wi-Fi, but this SD card, there was something wrong with the config before, and I was using it connected via a LAN cable, which I can't currently do because it just doesn't reach. So I'm just trying to find a way to show you guys my desktop. Window capture. Add. No, that's not what I'm after. Let's create a whole new scene. Call it desktop. And you guys are probably now seeing nothing, and I apologize for that. Let's go into adding things. Create new. Let's go to Explorer. And then let's make sure that my Explorer window is not showing you anything I don't really want it to. That's fine. Is it working? Doesn't look like it. Let's just try going to there for a second, there for a second, see if that changes. Sorry guys, I know it's all black. Will it show you my task manager or my notepad? Let's see if it'll show you that. Now this is a beta thing in OBS. It's not actually fully available yet. So okay, it's not going to work. You're just going to have to trust me on this and look at my pretty face. So what I'm doing is I've got a spare copy of my Wi-Fi details in a text file. And I'm just going into Wi-Fi supplicant.conf on the FAT32. And I'm just putting in the details. Is it capitalized or not? Pretty sure it's capitalized. Unify. and networks. Wi-Fi's is, and it's down under maker is the SSID. The password is clipper, dumb clipper. And I don't care that you guys heard me say that, because it doesn't matter. Unless you were camped out here, how are you going to connect to my Wi-Fi? And it's not something I use for anything else anyway. So let's go File, Save As, supplicant.conf in all files version, save. Yes, I really want to save it. Oh, one thing I do need to change. AU file, save as. Now, something that often trips people over with their Raspberry Pi configs is not setting the Wi-Fi country. If your router is set up appropriately, then you shouldn't be able to connect in a lot of countries' different region settings. So if your Raspberry Pi config is, say, Australia, like mine, but your router is set up in US, it could be that it's trying to connect way outside of the bands that are available, and that's what leads a lot of people into hassle and when they won't load up. So that has been saved. Let's unplug. And let's give this a try and see if we have any luck. If we don't have any luck, then I will troubleshoot this offline, because you guys deal with this stuff all the time yourself. You don't need me to show you how. And let's go back to OBS so I can see what you guys see, and we're plugged in. And we just have to have fingers crossed. All of a sudden I've got two lots of chat in front of me. Get rid of one. Only need to see Nick's text once. I'm a 3D, good morning, how are you? I'm going to put that micro SD card up and out of the way so I don't drop it on the floor. Now the activity light is flashing, but only a little bit, which makes me think hopefully it's now connected. And let's go to here. No, it was on 189 earlier. So let's see if it's on there now. Sorry guys, I'm just double checking I had the right address. Let's make sure. Go to my browser. And let's just try into 5.local, see if it catches it now. Nope. Scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. Sorry, behind my head it's currently got the little trying to connect to the web page circles. At the moment, Ahmed, we're currently, we've just pulled a cable through from the 5-volt power supply to the Raspberry Pi. That cable is actually 3 pins. One pin is being allocated to a GPIO, which will then allow me to connect to a relay. That relay is designed to then turn on and off the 24-volt power supply, because the fan in there is noisy AF and I don't want to hear it running all night. It's not like the newer versions where the power supply fan shuts itself off. We are just about ready to start doing the CAN bus wiring and the programming of the toolhead, but we also have to rebuild the toolhead before we can do that. That is not showing up. Let me see if Unify's found anything yet. No. Okay. That's an offline troubleshoot. You guys don't need to see me dick around with that for hours upon hours. So let's swap to that one. You can still see it. If anything changes, let me know. But let's dismantle this. So, catching Armored and a few of the other guys up who haven't been around for the streams previously. I'm a bit cash poor at this point, so I'm not putting rails on the Ender 5 yet. When I've got a bit more cash, that may happen. What I have got is this adapter, which screws directly onto the Ender 5 carriage. This is actually an Ender 3 one, and what we did was we used the slicer and some negative space to cut out a gap there so it fits around the slightly modified carriage that the Ender 5 has versus the Ender 3. And now we can screw this straight to the V-wheel carriage. We also need to take the hot end off this part and put in some new heat sets into the replacement part, because I accidentally printed this in 2 walls and 15%, not 4 walls and 40%. What I need to do is get my act together and save a new profile in Prusa Slicer so that it has something closely akin to the Ellis printing setup that Voron recommend. Now, before I put the hot end on the new part, guys, please remind me that I need to put the 2 stainless steel screws in either side first, because they don't fit once the hot end is in. So that's the old part. That's going in the bin. Let's unplug this, because I need the extension cord. Tuck that there so I don't trip over it, and heat set press. Somebody commented on Modbot's stream earlier that they were glad somebody had a messier desk than them, to which I replied, dude, you ain't seen nothing. Tuck that over there so I don't accidentally heat press that. So that needs 2 heat sets on this face and then 2 heat sets on the top from memory. Yep. And an ongoing theme of my streams, for those of you who are new here, is I drop stuff a lot. It just happens. That should be more or less up to temp by now. And yes, I use the Ghetto $2 AliExpress soldering irons for my heat sets. Not hot enough yet. Just give it a second. While we're doing this, I just want to check. Is this labeled? It's a PT1000, so that's fine. The EBB36 board that I'm using doesn't support it doesn't have the Max 31865, whatever chip it is. So I couldn't have used a PT100, and then I would have had to have gone back to the drawing boards completely. Although good news for those who have been following the EBB Gen 2 release. Luke from Big Tree Tech on their Facebook this week said that the release is basically imminent next week or two. So presumably they're in production and they're just waiting for production numbers to be up and high enough. How's the missus doing? She's currently sitting in the home theater with her feet up and a half-pound bar of dark chocolate and the 86-inch TV watching random crap, presumably true crime stuff on YouTube, because that's what women do these days. So those heat sets are in. Now I think I missed some heat sets on another part. Just let me think for a second. They're in. They're in. No, they're not. That's what I missed. No, they're not. They're already in because that's those ones. That one doesn't have heat sets. That's just straight screwed into plastic, which means the only other part I'm missing is this one, and that doesn't take heat sets, so that's fine. Let's turn that off and move it out of the way before I burn myself, which is also a running theme on my streams for those who are new. Phil grabs hot things. Although it's not as good as one of my students. I'd only been teaching at a school for maybe like a week. It got to last thing on a Friday, very last lesson, and I decided, okay, I know these kids well enough to trust them with soldering irons. So we got the soldering irons out, and there's nobody shouting in chat to put these screws in, but I did remember. I bet they made so many of those EBB 36V1 boards. There's three different revisions of the EBB 36, Nick. But the Gen 2 boards, I know for a fact that everybody is going to be in love with them. And I can confidently say that they will work as expected and that beta testing is not being done on the consumer. So those two screws are in. Now we need the hot end. That goes which way around? That way around. So that way. There. So if in a couple of weeks, all of a sudden we do a massive pivot and I'm changing things on the tool head, yeah, just go with that. I've lost one of the M2.5 screws. It's probably in a fan, or it's stuck to a magnet. I only took it out a second ago. How did I lose it already? All right, let's take a breath and let's mount this onto the printer. Let's get Bob's control center and go find that one and go up. I think that's about the best I can do with the view at this point. So this just slides onto the two sticky outy screw points, Being super delicate with this one because it's really close to stripping. So that's all in, and that feels super rigid. One thing we did in preparation for this, was it last week? Whenever it was my last stream, we tweaked the eccentric nuts on this to make sure that there's basically no give, but it still runs freely, and it does feel really nice. So, mounting plate is in place. Let's see if that M2.5 has turned up yet. Doesn't appear to be stuck in that fan, or that fan, or that fan. I didn't hear it hit the floor. I did, however, just find the spare spreader bar that I had to have reprinted because I couldn't find it. And 2.5s. Oh, the H36. Yeah, I don't like those boards. I honestly can't see them lasting particularly long once the rivals are out. This one's going to be way too long, I know it. Yep, too long. Maybe that one. That's better. Can somebody please DM me on Discord and say order M2.5 screws? That is so close to stripping, but I'll leave it as is. I'm not going to mess with it anymore. So, please. You remember how I said I needed to put those screws in before I screw in the hot end? It's because if you don't get the angles exactly right, they don't fit. But I think I might be able to massage it. It's just close enough. Come on. There we go. Gotcha. It's probably taken the paint off a hot end, unfortunately, but we'll go with it. So, where are we at? I've got the replacement hot end mount printed, heat sets installed, screws installed, hot end installed. That then goes there. Or did I just build this backwards? Yeah, I put the hot end in backwards. Take a breath, Phil. It's all good. Ahead. Ah, crap. 1, 2, 'Don't make the same mistake again, Phil. That's the back. Right, that's the right way around. Just thinking it through in my head again. There we go. Is this your box turtle projects? And of course I put the wrong screws in. So what I just did was I accidentally put one of the M2.5s in to the through hole here, when it should have been an M3. That's the M3. That's also the M3. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stop being an idiot, and I'm going to put a heat set on that screw. Just half a turn, stop it falling out. And I'm going to do the same with this one. Half a turn, just enough to stop it falling out. Now it's not going to fall out. That way around, so that way around, which means that way. None of those issues should affect it because everything you're talking about is macros. I wouldn't suspect the Pi5. Trust me, I know stuff. That would be where I would look too, Ahmed. I'd look for fatigued wiring. Okay, so that's installed. That goes that way around. Let's see if we can zoom you guys in just a little bit. Not exactly in the middle of the screen, but it's not bad. So that's there, that's there. Now, for people who are new to the stream, I had to make a custom plate to mount my extruder because I'm using an APUS2. And there was no mount for APUS2. Let's take that off for a minute. Super easy. I've got some new hardware that's using Pi5. And so far, it has been absolutely bulletproof. And I accidentally left it in the middle of my stream a couple of weeks ago. And nobody noticed until I quickly watched my stream back just to make sure I hadn't dropped too many F-bombs. And I realized, and I was like, oh crap. So this slides on that way. I then need my M36. Now, I went to some lengths to show everybody previously how I'd done this. The APUS2 kind of mounts similar to one of the orbiter models, but not sufficiently similar to allow me to just use the straight up orbiter mount plate. So what I did was I used the dovetail that was a part of the APUS2 original design mounting plate that Phaetus give you on their website for mounting on something, but they then don't tell you what, where, or why, or how. I modified it to match the top of the Rapid Burner, and I then use an interference fit here and the screw thread of an M36 to secure it all together. Now it does require a very light touch to know when it's fully seated. And then let's not tie that up in a knot because that will make life really disgustingly hard. That needs to go all the way around the back. Wrong way, Phil. That way. No, actually, that way. That way. Does need to go through there. So that's the back. Now, that comes up the front. That slides into that side. That slides into that side. The only other thing it could be at that point, projects, is some sort of issue with the power for the Pi5. So that's the long. That's the longer power. But it doesn't reach that way, it goes underneath, that's why. Does it? There. And that tucks there. And that tucks in there and holds that wire in place. Sorry guys, talking to myself. The best way to power a Pi5 is via the OTG port. That provides not only the smoothing, but it also provides the buffer it needs for the CPU stability. If you power it via GPIO, you're pushing poop uphill badly. So now that M36 is not taking all of the load on my tool head. It's actually designed so that there's two pins just behind the front fascia of the tool head, which also hold it into place. So that is now all ready to go. And now we need to play. Let's see if we can squeeze all these wires. Hi, Brent. I gave up, Brent, I gave up on DSI screens a long time ago. The only one I still use is on my V2, and that's purely because I'm too lazy to take it off. And it just sits there in parallel with another screen. That's right, I need to take those out. So I'm taking those heat sets off the 2 screws that I've used for mounting. And I realized after assembling this all, I can't get to those attachment screws. So let's take that off again. That just needs to hang off the bottom a bit. Now I'm operating kind of blind here. I can't tell if this is even remotely in the right spot. In, yes. So one mounting screw is in place. Now that's in place, I'm just going to cut this tie strap off. I knew I'd put it on too soon. If I can find some cutters anywhere. There. So what I'm currently trying to do, guys, is squeeze a whole bunch of wires around the edges of a part. So that one stays in and that one comes out. Okay. All I can do is kind of give you a brief talk through what I'm doing, because describing it is basically impossible because you can't see it. It makes no sense anyway. And that's in. That's in. Tighten that one up. Let's go to side cam so you can see a bit better. There you go. Hopefully that should mean you get less of my arm and more of what's going on. Now, that spreader bar needs to go on before. So let's jump back to here. Scrolling down. This spreader bar here, guys, is what I'm talking about. And I need to work out what kind of screws are used to hold it in place. I'm guessing that they're M36 or M34. M36. Whoever was sending me DMs about ordering screws, I also need some M36s if somebody could please oblige. And this is about the time where you'd normally reach in through the side of the printer to fit this. But I can't because I've got the acrylic panels there. Right. Now to give me a fighting chance of not dropping any screws, I'm going to put a magnet on the side of here. And I dropped it anyway. Now this is screwing just straight into the ABS, so again I'm being very, very gentle with it. M36s I put back accidentally. I found the screw I dropped, even better. Thanks, Nick. These screws aren't particularly magnetic. Sorry, I know all you can see is my shoulder, but that should be fixed in a moment. One. Oh, spreader bar you can do afterwards. Nice. I didn't realize that. It doesn't fit like this, so I'm going to have to do it. I take it off again. All that struggling for no need. Click. Click. And push. That's pushed all the way home. Now, what screws do I use to mount the top part? Offer the cowl to the hot end mount and use two M310s. Should we go for silver or black? Let's go for silver because they're in those deep wells. That one's there. Yes, it's the 2F. It's the fiber reinforced one, so it's designed for taking carbon and glass fiber and basically any abrasive filaments. It's hardened all the way through. And in theory, the APUS2 is hardened all the way through as well. Oh. I might have been getting really close to the maximum ugga-duggas on that one. Let's have a look from the back. I'm just looking to see if I can find what size screws are used on the back for the bottom two screws. It doesn't show you. Does anybody know? What I'm talking about is the two screws which come into the back and screw the bottom of the assembly together. Well, they're not even shown on this exploded diagram. I'm just going to go with M310s and assume it's the same. Sorry, I know I've gone quiet. I'm just concentrating while I watch this tighten up. That one's in. Let's go to that one. Now, it doesn't show up on camera very well, but can you hear that? That's a Perspex panel. That's why I'm struggling to see what's going on and reach into certain spots. The Perspex panels were done way back in the day when Teaching Tech released the SVG files. And that's in. Come around this side and do the other side a little bit more. Something just won't pop. Oh, maybe it was just popping home. That's fine. It feels secure. Nothing feels loose. And based on the way this is mounted, I don't think I need the spreader bar, because that is all held rigid by the other mount. It's in. So we have the tool head mounted. What time are we at? We're at 11:30. Now, just for anybody who's late and doesn't know what's been going on for me here at home, my wife had an accident on the weekend and she has quite badly hurt herself. She's really badly fractured one ankle and she dislocated the other. We put one of the ankles back in before the ambulance arrived, because we were planning on just simply driving to the ER ourselves. But when we realized just how broken the other one was, we were like, yeah, no. So what I'd like to do is cut the stream a bit short here. Then I can fix the Wi-Fi issues and we can deal with the rest of the printer next week. So what have we managed to achieve? We have tested that the 5-volt power works. We've tested that the 24-volt power works. We have run wiring to the Raspberry Pi, and that definitely boots up. I can see it's booting up and all the rest of it on the status lights. You guys saw that. We did have it booting on the other SD card and connecting to Wi-Fi, but we then didn't have all the configs. So what I might do is, bearing in mind that other SD card does connect to the Wi-Fi and has no issues, I might power that SD card up in another Raspberry Pi connected to a LAN cable, pull all the configs off, and then just transfer it to the known working Wi-Fi SD card, and just rebuild that other card from scratch as a spare. So next bit is going to be to run that CAN bus cable, and that is already available to us here. So that's going to come over the top and into here. I still haven't worked out 100% how I'm going to do this, but I am toying with, I have a whole bunch of the meshy cable protector stuff. I am toying with wrapping some PTFE tube in with that on the tie strap to the CAN bus cable to keep it all neat, and then if I do it that way, there's only one axis and I can easily mount that, but then that's moving backwards and forwards in a different way. The whole point of this build was for us to experiment a little bit as we went. Let me show you what I'm talking about. This is that meshy stuff that they use for protecting cables, and I have lots and lots of it. That's a 4mm ID. That's just for that's for going onto the box turtle. That's what that's for. So up here, the little white PTFEs, I've got some of this green stuff that's going to go over the PTFEs just to make it a little bit prettier. Now I've got the box turtle more or less working, and I've also got a big thick one for the umbilical that goes to the box turtle. So that'll be another project in a couple of weeks. What we're going to do is we're going to go, I am Down Under Maker. I am Phil. Thank you for joining me, and it's time for me to hop on out of here. I will catch you all next week with a much more organized stream and hopefully a wife who's had surgery and is bouncing back. So catch you all later, guys. Bye.